welcome back from the break. You're still on the program Africa Today, and we're moving on to Egypt, where Human Rights Watch has spoken out against military courts that tried and persecuted children over the years. Children in Egypt. You know, once in a while you get an African country or any kind of country coming up with stuff like that, but you might think these are things of the past, but it seems that we are still dealing with it. It said that over the years, the Egyptian police and military officers have arrested and detained over 300 children. They try them in adult courts, and they are in jails with grown folks, which shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Generally what happens is that when there's a war, women, children
suffer the most.
Basically, that's what happens. So that's a basic fact. But I think in this particular situation, what happens is that, or what happened over there was that there were two main events. One was the January Revolution, right, against Hosni Mubarak. And then just this past September, there was one against the Americans, you know, at the various American embassies and all that. So all those actually led to several issues and all that. So what happened was, and as you rightly mentioned, these kids were arrested, obviously for taking part in the protest. So they were arrested, they were tried, of course they were found guilty, and then they were jailed. Now they were tried in a way as adults, because in adult court. Two, they were jailed with adults in those areas and all that. Now, for me, the sad thing is that it is not right. But there are two things. One is that international law actually frowns on such kinds of situations. So, because what it actually international law says is that kids cannot be put through those kinds of situations. That's number one. And even Egyptian law, that's the Egyptian and child's law, actually also frowns against, on some of those particular situations. So, the kids or the children,
but they've gone against their own.
That's my point. The kids have the backing of the law. So the point is that, you know, some groups are wondering, why are judges flouting these things which are clear? Because judges are not supposed to do that. So has the system been so politicized that the judges cannot do anything about that? So it is, you know, kind of a lot of issues and all that. But here's one thing. Human rights is playing an integral role in this particular situation. Human Rights Watch is doing that. What Human Rights Watch has done is that it has been able to actually bring to the fore some of these issues that are happening over there. That's number one. Two, what they did was that they did a qualitative study. They interviewed judges, they interviewed lawyers, they interviewed these kids, and they interviewed their parents. And they actually found lots of abuses against these kids.
They were kicked, tortured, and some also they were subjected, these children, to electrical shocks. I'm like, and children, seriously?
Those are things that can happen in the heat of some of these revolutionary events and all that.
I understand that, but when it's over for you, so what happened to those children? They are still detained.
Yeah, they're still detained, but what we should worry about is what happens to them even after they're released, because they are no longer the kids. They may still be, they probably are just maybe 6 months older, but they are no longer the kids that were taken in.
Because mentally things have gone wrong.
Yes. Sure. First of all, those judges, ordinarily, I mean, if you bring a case to my court and I'm the judge, I should hear you. Yeah. But I should then, after hearing you, should simply say, I do not have jurisdiction over this case. Let it go to juvenile courts. They didn't do that.
They don't have juvenile courts?
No, they have. They have because their constitutions clearly spells it out. You cannot try kids under 8 people in adult court.
Yeah, you're right.
And then when you try them in juvenile courts and they're found guilty, you cannot put them in adult cells. You should take them to juvenile cells. But they haven't done that. And the law is there. So, like you rightly said, international community said, wait a minute, these people may have broken some laws, but there's really no big deal about protest. They haven't done anything crazily wrong. But then there's a law in your country, forget about international law, the law in the country says you cannot do this. So the police, for instance, the military guys that did all of this should be tried. All right? And at the end of the day, I believe that Morsi is going to be pressured and he's going to do the right thing because he's breaking his own law.
Yeah, but let me going against your own rules.
Let me quickly say something about Morsi, though. I think that let me be quite. It is ironical that I'm going to probably praise him for this. I think that not for what is happening, but I think that since he came to office, he's been quite responsible, and I'm using the word very advisedly. The reason is that those kids that were arrested and jailed after the January revolution against Hosni Mubarak, most of them have been released. Okay. But they still have some, yeah. But the kids who took part in the September protests were not, because they didn't actually meet. They didn't fall within the category of, there was a date, right up till June. So those who did committed some of those after June,
so different groups,
some kind of amnesty, right? So those who didn't meet the June, who went past the June thing, really are still in jail. Okay. So they've not been.
Like Funsho, just give me a line. Funsho saying the bottom line is, children are children.
Yeah.
At a certain age, they are not supposed or allowed to be tried in the same court as adults. Yeah. Take them to the juvenile court.
No, I
so we just wish that Jose will just sit up and do more.
Do it quickly, because if you have done so much right and you have done something terribly wrong with future generations of your country, it's going to pay dearly for it, because this same group of people will come out of jail really wild.
I agree.
And they're going to do something crazy.
I agree.
The next revolution in that country could be.
And let me say why I agree with you. I agree with you on the fact that even though he's done something, he's not been quick enough, and I agree with that. And I think definitely he has to. But as far as the kids are concerned, there are two things. There's the physical component and there's the emotional component.
That's what I'm concerned about. Right? Yeah.
These guys are going to be battered emotionally and psychologically.
Yeah,
you're right.
Maybe what about it?
Right. Yeah.
So you got to be careful. Yeah. Right. Now, so that's coming off Egypt. Let's move over to Rwanda. Look at education now in Rwanda, where they are moving towards a single university. How is that going to work out? Just have a big grin on your face. They said this is supposed to ensure better quality of education and proper management of their resources. Will it work?
It is definitely going to work better than what they currently have.
Okay.
Because first of all, they are looking at resources they have. They're talking of economic resources and human resources. Mm-hmm. When you have so many of those universities, at the end of the day, you have to have officers in each of those universities at certain level. But when they bring it to a centralized kind of stuff, don't forget that those universities that are currently there are not going to go out of place. Okay. They are going to be turned into colleges. And because they're going to be turned into colleges, they'll still operate, but they will have principals as head of the institutions. But then the university itself will be the only place that you will have to have dean, you will have to have vice chancellor, you will have to have all of those stuff that you have in a university. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it is going to be a lot better for this country that they go this way. Maybe when we come back after the break, we'll be able to break it down.
Yeah, and I think that here's why it's a very good thing. In some countries like Ghana and other countries, what happens is that there's a huge divide between universities and polytechnics. Mm-hmm. In Rwanda, it's not just universities. Mm-hmm. It is you have other institutions like polytechnics who are all coming under that umbrella. Okay. So what they're going to do is that their resources will be up to par with the same resources of the university.
And they'll concentrate on that.
So there wouldn't be that kind of divide between a polytechnic and a university. They still have the same resources. And the point is that no student is going to be left out. Mm-hmm. For example, if you have one polytechnic or one institution that has about 12,000 people, all of them are going to come under one umbrella. So they'll have about 30,000 students within the single university system. Well, this is a system that is already in place.
They'll be able to manage and control.
Yeah, I think it's a very good system, actually.
Okay, so that's good. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.